Welcome to the Scratch 3.0 PD.
Yeah, I was oh crap. Well, we're gonna, maybe someone else has a workaround. Yeah, exactly. And if anyone needs, by the way, the internet, I guess it's up there too.
Growing up in the golden age, so I see you in the brain. It was so subtle, without any anyone. But I don't like it was so. You get a song on the radio. Credit cards on the studio. That's all I let you. Do you remember how it feels to be young?
Well, the people at home are getting great song with live stream. We'll get started in just a couple minutes as we wait for some folks to show up. If you could please click the survey.
It was on the gym at lunch, we thought it was real. I was even falling math, I ain't even care. Just to be around you made it worth it. I dropped out, but you still so perfect. I remember at the prom, you was perfect. I remember you were walking on graduation day. I never get the chance to say that. Do you remember how it feels to be young? Do you remember we could be anyone?
Yes. Scratch 3 and hula hoops. Okay.
You were ready, my friend. And I remember when they all looked alike. That was crazy. How they all looked
When's the last time?
A hula hoop? A very long time since the last hula hoop. Pretty good at that, Rachel.
I don't want to do it in here. You can do it
Oh, yeah, you got it.
You know, just providing a little entertainment before.
Say we should start in 30 minutes.
I've been on the same shit. Girl, how you feeling, baby? I don't got the time for that. Might need that refund. I'ma need that time back. You say you could try. I say that I try, then try. Not try. If you mad, that's fine. But I think that I should go.
Funny as too.
same shit. Girl, how you playing with me? I don't got no time for that. Might need me a refund. I'ma need that time back.
Then why are you playing with me? You don't even like girls. So I need you to tell me, baby, what you want to take this spice, girl. It's confusing cause you're dirty, but you ain't gonna be the one to say you ever did me dirty. I got time for that, pay no mind to that. But believe me, if it's fire, I'll make time for that.
Is it one of the lecture? Or just tweet it out?
Girl, why are you playing with me? Girl, who are you playing with? You've been on that new stuff. And I've been
Hello.
on that Girl, why are you playing with me? I ain't got no time for that. Might need me a ring.
Okay, for real this time. We'll get started in 1 minute. I always let's get my back. Is it? That's unfortunate.
I've been on the same shit.
Girl, how you playing with me?
Did anyone do the second part of the do now here? Describe a scratch project you're proud of. I don't have to post enough of that.
Yes. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm a fool. Maybe I don't know how to love, but maybe I do. Maybe you know more than me, but this much is true.
All right, folks, let's get started. I know some people are still getting set up, but it's already 4:10, and I want to make sure that we all have the time to play around with Scratch 3. So obviously, Scratch 3 was just released, and we're all very excited about it, or at least I am very excited about it. But I just wanted to talk about what we're going to do today. Today will be largely focused on having time to play around with what's going on there. I want to try to do as little talking as possible. And we're going to have some stations set up in about an hour with the different features and extensions that Scratch 3 has. I'll have a chance to play with that. Cool. I'd love to, if you didn't get a chance to do the pre-survey, just write down this link now. I'll ask you to do it at a different time. But let's get started with some introductions. Oh, before I do that, quick little thing. I want to talk about Mouse for a second. We're in Mouse's space right now. We are a nonprofit. We have our own learning management software system for students to go into and complete projects from coding to makerspace to video creation, IT work. There's a lot of different stuff we have. But we also do PDs on behalf of a few different organizations. And if anyone is unfamiliar, or is familiar with Code Interactive, and actually when you're filling out that pre-survey, just mark off Code Interactive. I think it's the third question, what organization you're doing this with. But we've merged in the past, so if you've been to a Code Interactive PD in the past, you've been to a Mouse PD. Any questions? All right. It's going to be super short, but I think it's good to know who's in the room. So let's do a little round of who in the room, and I'll get started just answering these 4 bullet points. So my name is Tom. I work here at Mouse. I've been doing teacher professional development for a few years now, and before that, I was a high school computer science teacher at an urban assembly school here in Manhattan. I was teaching high school, but since joining Mouse and some other organizations, it's been really K through 12, really. My familiarity with Scratch, I've been teaching Scratch for 7 years now. Why don't you go for it?
Mark, IS7 on Staten Island Middle School. I teach and I use Scratch for 14 sixth grade classes. And this is my first year really delving into it. CS first.
You have 14 classes at the same time?
Uh-huh.
How's that possible? Only like 9.
Creative scheduling.
My name is Sema. Hi, everyone. Brooklyn School. My students are first grade to fifth grade. And my family with Scratch, right now we are prepared for Science Olympiad. And our Science Olympiad team is right now with the school students. And then we study Scratch and prepare for Science Olympiad.
Cool.
My name is Leslie Johnson. I originally came from a middle school on Staten Island, and now I'm actually in an elementary school at K-5. And I got involved in CS for all, so I'm thinking this is my 3rd year teaching Scratch. And I also got involved with Minecraft. And it's like so motivating towards the end of my career, like it's just a good shot in the arm, because they really do love it. The kids really love it. I'm still teaching science, but it's kind of blended in to Scratch.
Yeah, the technology, someone said it earlier today, they're technology motivated.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
My name is Leon, and I am a middle school teacher at Lower Manhattan. Currently, I started last year with a pilot program, like my 8th graders, to use Scratch to teach them simple games and stuff.
Yeah.
And this year, my principal decided to put me in school, so I have 4 classes, 8th graders, but because I have to teach all year long and Scratch, I could teach that too, but they already have it here, so I changed to hold that all.
Okay.
So I use that whole curriculum for CS discovery and get on it, but I want to learn more about Scratch, so I can extend the program.
Cool. Yeah, and there's tons of different curriculums out there. Scratch is used for many of them. In a lot of ways, it is kind of the de facto learn how to code language, but there are a lot out there. And so my goal today will be learning things in Scratch that can be applied in your own curriculum, or if you're doing someone else's curriculum, and what works for you. Yeah.
I teach at the side, it requires STEAM, and this is my 3rd year teaching Scratch.
My name is Peter. I'm a paraprofessional by title, computer science major by trades. I support teachers in my school. We're at District 75. We do 14 to 21, and my principal wants to implement this to our classrooms, starting with Scratch for the first time.
Cool. And you're a Mouse Squad alum, you said, right?
Yes,
That's awesome.
I was part of Mouse Squad when I was in high school here in New York City.
That's awesome.
My name is Tove. Listen, I teach in Bronx, District 75. I have 6th to 8th graders. But I actually started like doing coding in after school for after school kids. So I use code.org. But then we also have Scratch, like in the computer room. And I'm not really familiar with it. I know a little. I got a little fast course in it. But
Cool.
Hi, I'm Mary Flanagan. I'm a student.
Okay, cool. And believe me, I remember when I first started, I always said I just want to be one step ahead of the kids, right, with Scratch. Then I realized that's impossible. And you'll never be one step ahead. But it's about just being able to be comfortable with it.
Coexist.
Coexist. I like that. Yeah.
I'm Alice. Now I'm bringing up. I'm here. We're a huge fan of Mouse, and we Mouse, and we also Scratch. So
Awesome, great.
Yeah. You guys were great.
Yeah. Nice.
Hi, I'm Sari, also from and learn what Mouse does.
Cool. I know you just walked in, but do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. So I'm from George Westinghouse, and I teach 9, 10, and 11th graders, and I'm currently teaching my 9th graders how to work with Scratch.
Cool.
And I see you guys have 3.0. So.
Love it.
And I'm Rachel, work here at Mouse, and I used to teach video production in high school, so not as a regular high school teacher, but as like a teaching artist at a variety of high schools around the city and all the boroughs. And yeah, Scratch I've been using here at Mouse for a few years. I'm not an expert, but it's fun, and yeah, I think the staying open to learning with the students is the key. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the director of
Awesome. Yeah. So let's get started. So as I said, it's rather quick PD. We're just scheduled for 2.5 hours. Do some quick little introductions about some of the newer things that are available on Scratch. If you've already been playing with it, some of this stuff you might already know. And then get into the weeds of making some cool stuff with some of the new extensions. We have microbits, we have Lego AV3s here, we have some Makey Makeys here, and we'll be using some of the new plugins with Google Translate and text-to-speech as well. What I'm going to recommend while I'm going over some of these new features would be to just have Scratch open on your screen. So just go to scratch.mit.edu and go to the Create tab. I'll say it again, scratch.mit.edu, and go to the Create tab. If you want to just follow along and click on these different things while I'm saying it, I highly recommend it. So, a few things just up here on the board. So,
sorry, pause 1 second. The Wi-Fi is up on the wall there, Mouse guest, and the password is TechWPurpose, capital T, capital P for anyone that's coming in later.
Yeah. Do you have a question? Do you have a question? Sorry. Yep. Okay, cool. So, anyone know what was the release date for Scratch 3? January 2nd. So it's brand new. I was running a PD earlier today, and we managed to find some bugs. It is brand new, so that's kind of fun, and I'm sure they're working on it very hard there. But yeah, so if anyone was using Scratch beforehand, a lot has changed in terms of the interface. A lot has changed in terms of new things they've added, but a lot of things are actually the same. Any project you made in Scratch 2 now exists in Scratch 3. You didn't have to do anything, it just does. I see some people here with tablets. That's awesome. Before January 2nd, you couldn't use a tablet, but now you can either, and you bring up a project in a tablet, bring it up on a computer the next day, and go back and forth, which is awesome. Some new blocks. I got one here. I'll zoom in. This is one of my favorite ones. We'll talk about it more a little bit later. But it's plugging into the Google Translate API or some Google code to translate a phrase into a ton of different languages that you can right away just translate it to. You can see Scratch and Cats now saying it, hello world in Spanish.
When you said API, what do you mean by that?
It is, great question. Carlos's question is, what do I mean by Scratch is tapping into or using the Google API? Does anyone know what an API is?
Application programming interface.
That's what it's defined as. Does it do?
How magic happens in computers.
In a lot of ways. In short, what it means is Google is allowing Scratch to use some of its code, and by doing that, we're able to create some of these blocks. So some Scratch code plus some Google code, which is using the Google Translate It's called API or their code to
Find that.
these blocks.
Yeah.
We'll go into that in a second.
Okay.
But this is just an example of some of the newer things that they have, and we'll go into all of them in a bit. And I'll first try to have you play around with it on your own, and then we'll go into detail on it. Any questions? Yes, Rachel.
Yeah, so on their iPads, as soon as they click create, it just goes to a blue screen.
Just a blue screen?
Anyone?
Are you on Safari?
From
It does work on Safari, but I did notice that you need a recent update of Safari. I bet you probably just need a pretty recent update from the App Store. We have some other iPads. Carlos, can you pass that back to them? So that's another good thing to point out. Is anyone still using Internet Explorer at their school? Great answer. It won't work. The new Scratch 3.0 will not work on Internet Explorer. And as we see here, a pretty recent update of Safari is needed. I can't remember how many months ago.
Yeah, because I was having trouble on my Mac at home.
Yes. Okay.
But that's because of, I didn't realize it was because of Safari, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. I recommend Google Chrome. It's subjective, but I like it.
Yeah.
And it does work with Safari, though. It works with Microsoft Edge. It works with Firefox. It does not work with Internet Explorer. Yeah. So that's different from the last one. But it does work with tablets, because it does not use, remember those annoying pop-ups? Activate Adobe Flash? No more of that. And you'll notice that the laptop, if you're using laptops in your classroom, the laptop batteries will last significantly longer, because we're not using Flash.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
Great. Okay, so now I'm going to go into some of the new features. And like I said, if you want to have Scratch open while I talk about some of these things, please do so. So looking at how to orient your Scratch character. Do you remember it was kind of tough to figure out where they were? You could always use a block of code to say point in this direction, things like that. Those blocks still exist, but why don't we try this right now? If you're in the Create tab, click on the direction portion. It probably says direction 90. Why don't you grab that arrow and move it around a little bit? So if you click on direction where it says 90, there you go. And try to just drag that like a hand on a clock. Good Chrome, correct? Oh, it's just because you're putting it. Do you want a mouse?
Okay.
Yeah, we got a mouse. Here you go. No worries. Okay, everyone get a chance to play with that one a little bit? Yes? No? Cool. Okay, another really cool one. If you go into, I'm just going to go into Scratch here. And waiting. Okay, go to the Create tab. The way to edit costumes and sprites has gotten significantly better. I know this just from PDs that I've run in the past and my experience with Scratch. I had a really hard time using the paint editor and this, but it's really great now. Like, so if I want to even just change something as specific as the scratching the cat's nose or move his whole head like this, whisk his head around. A lot of features that are becoming a little, it's just nicer. It's a nicer experience. Scratch 2.0 was released, I want to say 6 years ago. Could someone correct me if I'm wrong on that? We'll grab a seat anyway. 2012, yeah, so 7 years ago, really. And a lot has happened with paint editing software. So Scratch has kind of got to there now, which is great. Different things you can do. The color panel looks a lot nicer. So I'll give you, I highly recommend checking this out when we get into one of the first projects we create. This is it. Go present again. Another new feature, I promise most of the talking I'll be doing today will be in the beginning. New audio features, which are loud. They're louder than before. But they're actually, again, the interface for using them is a lot more polished and nicer. So if I go into sounds, the way you can trim it and the way you can use these things, I don't know, if you remember before, it wasn't as clean. And it's just really nice to be able to do this. So I'll save this. The familiar meow that we all know. But we can robot. Or echo. Slower, it's faster. It's loud. The best is yet to come. So one thing I want to point out before it happens in your classroom, and you don't know, and you want to start yelling at kids, hold back because this feature is here. But if I get everybody's attention up here, so I'm in the sound panel now. Oh, great question. I'll answer that in just one second. So remember, we've got these 3 tabs here. First one's code. One of my favorite features too is that all the blocks live in one spot. So you can scroll down in here, and it's much, much easier than remember the different things that they had. Costumes panel, we just talked about. This sound tab. Sorry, your question was about the bars. The bars, what? Oh, okay. So I click trim here, and we'll do half of a meow. So again, one feature, before you start getting frustrated with students as to why they're making so much noise, we'll try it out ourselves, and you can see why it's so loud. If I go down here to choose a sound, again, I'm in the sound tab, bottom left-hand corner, choose the sound. As I hover over these things, it's making all the sounds. Which is good. But with the laptop, as I hover all of these sounds, it's just going to make them all. Definitely saves time. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a loud thing. Any questions on that?
So this again is the sound tab on the old Scratch. It would be go under costumes. It would be the sound tab is what you're essentially working with.
Yep.
When you were in the image editor, you were working on the costumes.
Yes, correct. So changing the costumes versus changing the sound. There's also quite a bunch of new costume or sprites available. Still, the old ones are there, but they have just frozen here. A bunch of new ones that look kind of nice. I like this bear walking on. Yeah.
I also had the experience where when you hover with the mouse over the image, it'll show you the motion of the sprite, but I don't see that it's working with you.
It was set that way before, so I'm thinking. So let me explain. What Leslie's saying here is it only last week, and I'm actually surprised by it now as well. Only last week, if I hovered over the dinosaur, it would show me all the different animations of the dinosaur. And it looks like it's sometime in the last week, Scratch made an update where actually they all live as their own sprites. That's new to me as well. We're learning.
It looks a lot like the old way.
Yeah. I wonder why they double backed on it. We'll see. I don't know. And maybe it'll go back. And then the last thing that I want to point out here, which is really, really useful, especially on a smaller screen. So we have our normal layout here. And if we click up in the bottom, the top right-hand corner here, there's full screen that we're used to. And there is smaller stage, which is nice. So you start to get a whole bunch of blocks filling up your code area, or your strict area, sorry. And you can click the stage shortening button here to give yourself a little bit more space. Any questions?
Mine is not what yours is.
What do you mean?
When I hover over my mouse over the sprites, I'm getting the images of all the costumes.
So what's happening with Leslie, if I get everybody's attention,
It's cool. It's a neat effect.
I do like that, yeah. So for some reason, I'm seeing the sprites separated out, but Leslie's seeing, instead of Andy A, B, C, D, she's just seeing Andy, and as you hover over it, it'll be all the different animations or different costumes of Andy.
You want Chrome?
I'm on Chrome, yeah. They might be playing with a few different things.
Yeah.
They might be collecting data from us to decide which one they want to use. Just a guess. Yeah. I didn't sign in.
One thing you took away is the X, Y, Z.
Interesting. Yes. I actually really loved that before, and I would agree. So
Probably still added it.
I'm wondering what they need to do there. So just to highlight one thing, maybe instead of having you look around when you're with one of your students and try to find it, you remember the stage used to have something right here that just tell you as you hovered around where you were in X and Y. Yeah. It's not easily readily available right there. But I'm wondering if I go to the motion blocks, it's not there as well.
The kids have had a
It was a useful tool, yeah.
Here, can you move the scratch cat?
Well, yeah, but then.
And then
There it is.
But if you're going to glide, you're going to have to move it 4 times, whereas before you just write down the X and Y coordinates and then put them in.
Yeah, but it is
Yeah.
there. If you move if you put the cat, it's there. It's changing.
Yeah, so
It's changing, but before you didn't have to move.
you just hover.
Right, you just
Yeah.
hovered and got the numbers.
So it's slightly different. I would bet they probably wanted to clean up the space a little bit and not have so much clutter on it. But so just to show that off, everybody, if you're not familiar, the Scratch stage has a Cartesian coordinates on it. 0, 0 right in the middle. And so the best way to kind of figure out where the character is or the sprite is at any moment is if I click and drag them, take a look at these go-to blocks here. So this just went to -21, +34. If I move them again, it changes in real time right there. So now he's at 159, 113. That's kind of a nice way to just kind of see where you are on the stage, and a bit of a lesson on the Cartesian coordinates as well can be made out of that.
So you're telling me if with that idea, it's going to automatically fill the block before you put the block into position.
Yeah, but now if I bring it out into my script area,
Right.
that stays like that. But the one still in the blocks area,
Now change.
that changes. This one stays the same.
Okay, so bring them in and then have your full movement.
Yep.
What do you say the coordinates are? The
0, 0. Yep. So it's not quite like a screen in
They
computer
keep the
science, but
background for the graph, the X, Y coordinates.
they did. So there's also, if you look at the backdrops, there is a backdrop that has the Cartesian coordinates there, which is quite nice, especially when prototyping a game or something. Okay. So those are some of the quick things, all the different features that I wanted to cover. And again, for some of you who've been using it for the last couple of weeks, that would have been a review, but happy to see, happy to answer some questions and talk through them a bit. Now, before I introduce some of the extensions and we have a chance to play around with some of the stations that we'll set up after these projects, I'm going to ask you guys to complete something quickly. And this is actually the first project in what's called the Scratch Creative Computing Guide. I'll show you later. What I would like for you to do is partner up. How many people use paired programming in their class here? Can someone describe to me what paired programming is? Yeah.
I believe it's when it's 2 or more, well, I mean, at least 2 students. I think one student's supposed to be the one that moves, drives.
The driver, yeah.
And then the other one is supposed to give you directions or instructions.
Exactly. So if you don't use this in your classroom, I highly recommend it. I just think it's awesome, and you get kids answering questions before they ask them, really, or they ask each other. They will ask each other, not ask you, so it frees up your ability to move around the room. Partner 2 students up. One will be the driver. The driver is on the keyboard doing all the typing, using the mouse pad, using the mouse. The navigator is telling the driver what to do. My experience is most kids want to be the driver until you tell them that the navigator bosses the other one around. And I recommend switching back, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, you go back and forth. But at any moment, I like to be able to go up to a student and say, who's the driver, who's the navigator? And they should be able to answer that right away. So I highly recommend it. And Leslie, I don't know if you have any tips on how you do it or like success with it.
No, that's how we do it.
Paired programming.
There's a great video.
Oh yeah, Code.org puts out a good video. There's plenty of good ones out there. Yeah.
You know what? The kids did that by accident.
Really?
And I was like, okay, I see when I'm in Code.org when you're grading them or you're looking at their work, it comes up with this funny symbol, and you're like, okay, he did it, but she didn't do it.
But were they working together?
Right, but they didn't know that, and I didn't know it, but they were like. So that's the first time.
And I think a really important component is you just tell two kids to go work on a Scratch program together. Doesn't really always work that great. You're the driver, you're the navigator. In 10 minutes, we're going to switch. See much better results.
I also got headphone splitters.
Oh, that's great.
Or like, I think, I don't know, somebody told me at the last workshop, I think I paid $6 each. But somebody said on eBay you can get like a class set for like $10.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, it's just, there are two headsets in one plug.
Yep.
And it's great. It's really safe. I just got a headset splitter.
3.5 gigabytes.
Yeah.
It just goes.
Good.
Yeah.
On price. On price. They have another lower price.
Okay.
And they will do purchase orders.
Yeah. I mean, it was worth it.
Yeah. I've also noticed that most kids don't mind if you have the full $5 headphones, one ear in mine, one ear in yours. You seem to be okay with that. Get some Kleenex. The splitter is probably a better way to go. But let's do this. So in paired programming groups, I would love for you to be able to, I want you to create a program with at least 10 blocks. I'm going to give you 15 minutes to do that, any 10 blocks. I'm going to give you an extra challenge, though, of use one of the extensions. And I haven't gotten into the extensions yet, but the extensions, you're going to want to, I don't want to answer this question later. I need your attention for 10 more seconds. Extensions live in the bottom left-hand corner as a little blue box, and you can add some of these extensions here. Not a requirement, but if you want to check it out, please go for it. So shake the person's hand next to you and do your program. Rachel, you got something to say?
No, it looks like
okay, great.
we need
Have at it.
someone from this table to partner, or for you to move over and partner here, and otherwise here. I was also going to say, for some people who came in late with pre-survey, if you wanted them to maybe do that real quick before they go. Or we can write it.
We'll write it on the board, yeah. Yeah, go for it. You want to work together? Great. Thanks for moving.
Okay, well,
Just 10 blocks.
What is music? I hear somebody using the text-to-speech. Seeing a few more extensions. Don't be afraid to check it out.
Oh my God, still? I thought this game was like 5 minutes. You guys. I'm not a fast reader. Like, don't read too closely. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. But what was gonna come after this section? It was gonna be the breakouts.
Scratch Creative Computing Guide.
Were we gonna have them do an activity?
Debugging. It's time. It's 5 o'clock. I do want to have time for them to do that. Yeah, the debug gets to be good. The debug gets to be good.
Yeah, they're good for everyone to know about. I just think that like for the breakouts, we just should have one table that's like beginners. So they can get right into it a little more.
And let's do that. And do you want to write down this? This might be a good one for you to use. Use this right here. Cool.
That's the challenge, is add code.
So yeah, like it gets into here.
Yeah, let's just check to make sure it wasn't like up there.
It's got 1 minute left. But, so it starts off just like this. And they, you got move, turn, wait. Now what? So this idea is they click on this. Now what do we do? Oh, we need to move block, get across.
So it's kind of like a debugger in a way. Like they have to add to this to make it get moving.
Yeah, and I put in some code from them so that it, like, if you touch the black wall, it resets them. And the R key, so when I press the R key, which isn't great for tablets. I've been using that for a long time now. It's like, this is what Scratch is.
Sorry, I'm just trying to think out like what I keep getting in the thing. It says, what does it say right there? Add code to what? Just to get the Scratch cat to the finish line?
Yes, with one click.
With one click.
So you click it and it goes.
With all the different steps. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll show you what's the purpose of this comment. This line of code does blah, blah, blah. What you could do is run your where's that line? There we go. Just 2 more minutes left on this activity. Say it again. Yeah, okay, here. So I'll show you. Let's do one program together. Let's get Scratch and Cat through the right side screen with click green flag. The first thing I want to do is let's go down to the event spots. No. And then let's add a move block. have to move across the street. Let's put that green flag here. Move it a little bit. Yeah, yes. Try 100. See what happens. So let's move on. The green flag is first. So move to the side. So that's the green flag. It's called a hat block. Scroll to the top. Have that blue block and add it to the bottom. Let's put the green flag. And move across the street like that. We can make a move more than 10 steps. Cool. Awesome. We're gonna see big turn and just go to random spaces. Glide. We'll have jump to it. Glide to it. Do the play. What side? So the whole, this is also Chinese, yeah. So that's
Chinese. We try to this translate to Chinese.
But is it still saying?
It's not saying it, but the word translate.
That's a really That's a Chinese.
Yes.
I think this is. I think everything you've done is correct. And then because this is. I think they haven't finished that. Try it with Spanish. Okay, I would bet they would like prioritize Spanish.
My wife.
Backseat driver.
I'm driving, she's stepping on the brake.
Backseat air programmer.
So what's the sensation when you drive? Okay, so back. White.
Just one more bit.
Sometimes they clarify. He says,
Okay, everybody. I know we're deep in the weeds of doing some projects right now, but if I could please get your attention up here, I'm gonna ask for roller coasters. Anyone do this in the class? Okay, so I used to do this in class all the time. You say, need everyone's attention. The kids are on the screen. You say roller coaster, and all of a sudden they're looking at you. So I get roller coaster. Cool. But if I could get everybody's attention, please. This is a room of kids. That'd be much easier. Carlos knows roller coaster. Can I just hear, maybe from somebody who tried a block they've never tried before, whether it's an extension or maybe a block that used to exist in Scratch too, but can someone just tell us what is a new block that you used in those last 15 minutes there? Lori.
I used the text reader,
Ooh.
and it was so much fun, and if you can actually have it in Spanish, it's hard.
So it's very Very good. That's awesome. So the text-to-speech is a new extension. So it used to not, it could only, you could record your own sound in the past. You can still do that. Or you can have the character say out the words. But so you're using Google Translate and text-to-speech. Ooh, it just uses the text-to-speech.
I wrote it in Spanish.
Awesome. I love it. And you can give it different accents, right?
The language.
I love it. Awesome. Anyone else? A new block they use today?
Put the translating.
Uh-huh.
How does it connect?
So what you can do, great question. How do you use the translate block? And for some reason this doesn't work. There we go. Check out how I did it in this slide. So
You stuck it inside a save block.
exactly. So check this out, everybody. If you want to follow along with me as I say it, go for it. In the looks category, the purple blocks, grab a say block, and then in that say block is the white little box that you can add in some text, or take an extension, the translate block, and chuck it in there, and we still have our white space, and we can translate it to any language they have available, which is quite a few.
That's in the save block?
Sorry, the looks blocks, you find a say block.
Right, yeah. Right.
Yes. I understand how that's a little misleading, but yes, the say block does exist in the looks category.
It prints the text on the screen.
It does, yeah. Awesome. Great. So let me show you.
Down to the rest of the language.
I think there's a few in there. You might be able. It might just be the aspect of your screen if you zoom out a bit. So I just want to answer one question I had, or somebody had.
For translated?
Yes. So if I get everybody's attention up here, sorry, ladies in the back. The new extension blocks. I explained this a little bit before, but I understand when you weren't in front of your computer. Bottom left-hand corner, this little blue box down here is our extensions. So there's 9 different extensions that they have. And we're playing with we'll have stations set up in a moment for a lot of these. But I want to point out a couple of things. If anyone's familiar with Scratch 2, or actually if this is your first time using Scratch, pen blocks, which used to exist without extensions, are now in the extension category. Pen blocks are pretty cool because they draw a line. So I'm going to click pen, go to a certain area on the screen, but before I do that, pen down. You see what's happened here? And he is creating lines everywhere he goes. So those now live in the extension categories. And I've seen some angry folks go, where did my pen blocks go? It's in the extension blocks, which are down here. Any questions?
Why did they pull it out?
I would say likely to reduce clutter. So now, especially with the blocks all living in one space like this, which they didn't do in the past, it's quite nice to keep this. If you're not using an extension, you probably don't want to put it in there because all of a sudden this becomes longer and longer. Awesome. Okay, we're going to have one more activity, and then we'll go around to some of these stations as promised. And also, I just wanted to give you this. I'll be sending the slides out after. I'll make sure you get them by Wednesday. But the driver navigator idea in paired programming. Does all the typing. Navigator informs the driver what to do. So I'll share these slides out so it's helpful for you. Another great thing. If anyone's ever tried some offline code, especially if you're working with some younger students, we've got some these blocks that I've just printed out and what's the word? Laminated. And you just add them together offline, which is kind of nice. I've broken up our if-else block. But if you want to use these, I scoured the internet trying to look for someone who made some Scratch 3 blocks printable. Couldn't find any, made my own. So you can go to that link, just print them out. And what's really nice is when you laminate them, you can then actually just you just write in it with a whiteboard marker. And so you can just do all the coding offline. Wi-Fi goes down, got something to do.
Is there an offline version of Scratch? I know there's Scratch.
Great question. So right now there is not an offline version of Scratch 3.0. You can go online and download the offline version of Scratch 2.0. Might be some confusion with kids just seeing the different interfaces, but I definitely recommend downloading that offline version just in case the Wi-Fi does go out.
What's that called?
Sorry, the offline version?
Yeah.
If you just Google off Scratch 2.0 download, I guarantee you'll find it.
Okay.
So it just looks different, looks older, but it's a good thing to have as a backup. Yeah.
One more question. Is there a Scratch?
There is not a Scratch Junior update that I'm aware of. No, I haven't heard anything. Scratch Junior, so well, there aren't a lot of things out here. So Scratch 3.0, what was released January 2nd, only lives online right now, works on tablets. They have said that they are in the process of creating a Scratch 3.0 app, so it would run a little bit smoother when using it on a tablet. Personally, not holding my breath for this school year. I would hope it would come out by September. I think that would be awesome. But you can still use it on a tablet. You just go to scratch.mit.edu like you always would. Scratch Junior is a tablet app that exists now, recommended for, I'd say, grade 2 and lower. Really great, stripped down. There's no words, so it really just works for kids who don't have these skills yet. And that hasn't changed at all, as far as I know. Maybe some minor updates, but that's it. And then Scratch 2.0 works offline. In the near future, we expect a Scratch 3.0 download to be available. Any questions? All right. Next thing. Oh, I do want to show this off. Just so many things. So if you're not already in the Create tab of Scratch 3.0, which I think a lot of people are, up in the top, there's a few different things. I want you to click on the Tutorials button there and kind of just explore. I want to spend just 5 minutes doing this. Find a tutorial that you find interesting in there and work your way through it. Some of them are really, really quick. And just, if you're a pro in Scratch, I want you to try it because to experience how your kids will go through it. If you're new to Scratch, learn something new. But let's take 5 minutes to do that right now.
I don't have.
Okay, let's see. So this is the main Scratch thing. If you go to Create, this is where all the making happens. And this is the tutorial. This is where the headphone splitter would be extremely useful.
It is great. I do love it. Also working, it's so focused.
And they're working together. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyone have any questions? Keeping the tutorials. You don't want me.
The green arrow to see the scope and to see what else you might add to your game.
Oh, I like the tail and the. No, that's Jack.
When you click on, depends what you click on. You click on either sprites or. Yep. Whenever it gets clicked on, you say what you're clicking on. When that code disappears, that's what happens. Oh, there's a lot of them. In the extensions?
Yeah.
Not in the extensions?
No.
Just another minute on the tutorials, everybody, and see where we can keep it to. Oh, they're funny one here.
We were gonna, I think we were gonna use two big tables, but that's why we're waiting.
EV3.
Yeah, no worries.
So in the translate, you can translate the block, first of all, and then it could be translated to another language.
So the block does the translating.
Right.
But it doesn't do anything until you put it inside of a save block.
Right.
So yeah.
But it won't, if you write it in like say Spanish, it won't translate it into.
That's surprising. And I feel like it's something that just like.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I couldn't figure out.
If you.
So somebody who's new to the country, I would like them to be able to write it in their language, see it.
Yeah. Because the little world icon there can change everything.
Everything to their
which is
language.
great.
I love that. Yeah. 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 Okay, from that.
Well, there's a way. Unless we're missing something. I'm gonna look at it too. But I'm gonna grab everybody again. I'm gonna grab everyone just now, actually.
Yeah.
We've got 5 minutes.
Well, I put my ear to here. I want
So that's actually going to ask a question. So like, what's your name? That's great. Watch this. I'll grab a save lock. And down to this block here. So this, whatever you type in when they ask this question, it's stored in this blue answer block.
Okay.
So what's your name? Type in your name. Click enter. That's your name. Because the value of this block here, whatever you just typed in.
Okay.
So like, let's try it again. I'll put the green flag. Hello, what's your name?
How can I say it out loud? So I should use the sound. Right?
You can use the, actually this one would be, so now we say speak. So we could say speak hello. Or speak. So, you know, I could type in Wanda here. I'll say Wanda every time.
Okay.
Or this.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Cool. Thank you.
You got it. Okay, everybody, if I could please get your attention back up here. If I can get hands off keyboards. Eyes up here. Yeah, we're having fun. I like it. I got one more thing to show you before we can break out into some different groups. And it's a curriculum that's put out. So Scratch is actually created by MIT. And this curriculum I'm going to show you is made by Harvard. I would have thought they would compete, but they're working together. So that's kind of cool. But this curriculum is called the Scratch Creative Computing Guide. I think it's really awesome. I put it here, it's the lesson plan idea factory. The idea is taking a student who knows nothing about Scratch and working them through this curriculum so that they are making some really impressive games on their own. And it really is pushing home this idea of not just giving you blocks to type in. I've seen so many curriculums where you're given a direction that says, put this block here, put this block here, put this block here, and yay, we did it. The student doesn't really understand exactly what's happened. This is called the Creative Computing Guide. It does the opposite of that. It says, make a game. How do I make a game? Get creative. And it does it in a way that really allows the student to not be completely lost too. I think they do a good job at it. And what I want us to do is we are going to try a debug it activity first. Because
It's Scratch Computing.
yes, and I'll give you a link actually to directly download it. But if you've used the Creative Computing Guide in the past, they've had it for years and years. But they just in January or this month have updated their original one for Scratch 3.0. So the blocks look different, which is really great. But what I want us to do is along the way in the Creative Computing Guide, there's some debug it activities. Can someone explain to me what debugging is? Finding a problem in a code or in something and identifying that problem and fixing it. So there's 5 here, and let's do the first one together. So I'm gonna have it up on my screen. I might ask somebody to shout it out. Sorry, I know it might be tough to see if you're in the back.
Where'd you go?
I'll show you. Let's do the first one, and then I'll let you guys go. So in this project, Scratch Cat wants to show you a dance. When you click on him, you should do a dance while the drum beat plays along with it. However, and here's our bug. As soon as he starts to dance, he stops, but the drumming continues without him. How can we fix this problem? So let's try it. If I click on this place here, it says hello. So hello? I don't hear a drum beat at all.
Have your sound going?
I got my sound all the way up, yeah. There's a bug in the bug. Works there. Let me show you what I did in case you are just first getting started with Scratch. Here's my project screen. It's nice because it has the instructions right here. I click this See Inside button, and this lets me see the code. So when here it is. When I click the green flag, he says hello. However, this program here says when this sprite is clicked. So when I click on it, he does this. So let me see the instructions again. Scratch Cat wants to show you a dance when you click on him. He should do the dance while the drum beat plays along. So that was the bug that I was having. So can somebody tell me, how can I make it so that he does both of these things at the same time when I click on it? Someone raise their hand, tell me. Yes? Oh, sorry. I thought that. No, go for it.
Take the two purple and slide them in underneath when the sprite is clicked.
Yeah, so check this out. I'll take these two blocks, put them all in the same program. Oh, whoops. Is this going to work? It is, yeah. So this does, he says the program, and then he does the dance. Let me ask you a different question. If I wanted us to have him do both, say the things and dance at the same time, does anyone have a suggestion as to how I can do that? Yes.
In parallel program,
Mm-hmm.
maybe bring out another when this sprite is clicked and just put it next to.
That's exactly right. So I love the term you use too, parallel programming. So two programmings running at the exact same time. So what I'm going to do is instead of when the green flag is clicked, I'm going to bring this over here. When this sprite is clicked, two different programs are going to happen at the exact same time. So when I click on them, it's a little odd because it's a little off. But you can see how me doing one thing, me clicking, made two programs run in parallel, run at the same time. Great. So let's go back into this. And again, oops, this is just an activity from the Scratch Creative Computing Guide. But if everybody can go to, in your paired programming partners, if you'd like, go to this URL and do debug it 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5. And I think we can do this in 10 minutes. I'll zoom in a bit for you. Turn some music back on for us.
Are we gonna be able to, is the guide available?
It's available for free. Yeah, I'll give you the link in a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, is it available in English?
I don't believe it's available in anything but English.
Okay. The other one was available.
Oh, then I bet this. Then yes, it is.
Yeah.
You know more than me.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's like, you know, you can get the worksheets for the kids in Spanish.
The worksheets are really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
the whole idea of the design journal.
Yeah,
all-
right, and it was design Spanish.
Yeah. Cool.
Is it like a center for grading system?
It
Like
has.
code.org?
Yeah, this is it's offline. It's just I think you turn out the activities. It's really for your lesson plan, and there's links to some of the You could, yeah, you could just take that one page, turn to PDF to the code.org is designed to be this whole learning management system. This is just here's some pages.
So you could start with
Tinkers? More of a learning management system? Yeah, I've used Tinker, but I've never really dug deep into it.
they just sent me a link.
Yeah.
But it's a big deal, code.org.
The Scratch, you can see if you can use it without us signing in. You can't save it. Yeah, there's some cups right here. The fridge. Just another 5 minutes on those debugging activities. We need to do actually.
Maybe just touching people.
Another thing is like how you crack it up to know that yeah, I think it's a great. Yeah, you really have to have. Yeah. Yeah, and that's part of the reason to do it, is that like you say, hey, whatever they're trying to create, things will work. Right. I have to be able to talk to you and like see it more as like a challenge, work together and help each other figure it out.
Whoops.
See like how the style is not like the style not connected to
We gotta take our. So wherever this line is, second line off.
Just 3 more minutes on these debuggets.
Well, not all of them.
Oh yeah, no worries. Did you get some photos? To do what? Oh, I can take photos. Okay. No worries. Okay, I think everyone's got it. Oh, wait, just be there. Okay, cool, cool. Awesome. See ya.
The way I noticed with Scratch, they give you 2 options, just see inside and like whereas I feel like with Scratch, you like always see it, like the minute you click see inside, it's like okay, it's automatically, but more like 2 different buttons. So if you want to save your remix, like if you want to solve it, you want to save it into your own project.
I'm going to cut us off in just a minute. I know some of us might still be working through the projects, the debugs.
Video.
You're at Westinghouse?
Yeah.
Can you do me a favor? Can you tell Mr. Prince, Mr. Edson.
Okay, Tom.
He knows me from my last company.
Okay, from Coalition or?
Tell him script.
Okay. So they, they changed it to Coalition?
Yeah. I used to be his classroom coach.
Okay.
I always love that.
So they're the ones that's coming to my class this year.
Yeah.
This is my first year.
Will you be in his classroom? The computer lab.
It's actually separate. It's 2 different classes now.
I was there 4 years ago. That's awesome. I haven't seen him forever.
Okay, I don't know.
All right, cool. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, everybody, if I could get your attention up here. I know some people are still working on the debugums, but we have all the time in the world to do that. So if I could get attention up here and hands off keyboards, please. Roller coaster. Okay, cool. So I want to show you some things about the Scratch Creative Computing Guide. In a moment, I'll show you the link where you can download it. But it's really cool. They've just turned it into a slideshow. And it's really designed for the teacher to go through. I'd say there's certain handouts you could give to students. This is obviously very small print, but like this is an example of just one of the activities. It's called Scratch Surprise. It might be, yeah, it's very pixelated. But just certain points here that it says what it's covering, gives the teacher a description of what the activity is going to be like. And then here's the project. This is, for instance, something that would be good. Like you could create a PDF of just this slide and maybe print that out and hand it out to kids or whatever you'd like to do. But it describes what the project is. And one thing I really love is it encourages design notebooks. So after each project, students write the little thing about what they've just created. I think it's a great curriculum. It's totally free. This is the version they've just updated for 3.0. So this is the 2.0 version, but now it looks nice and it uses the 3.0 blocks. In the near future, I don't know how long, but in the near future, they'll be doing another update to it. That's the nature of tech. You get used to something and change it. But
Did they update CS First?
CS First has also gone through quite a few updates. The videos are still the same narration, but the images flashing behind them and the links are updated and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, highly recommend it. I think it's a great curriculum. What I really like about the Scratch Creative Computing one is that you can jump in and jump out. I find a lot of curriculums. This is the URL here. I'll zoom in. That you can download it at. Ooh, sorry, this bottom one here. I find a lot of curriculums, if you're on their platform, sometimes you almost feel stuck into a certain regiment. I think Scratch Creative Computing really lends itself nicely to go in and go out, or to follow it along completely. But I think it's just a good one to share when it comes to a PD like this. So give you a little bit of time to have these set up. Then we're going to take this. We're taking this to 6:30. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show off some of the different extensions. Some of them are hardware extensions with some little devices. If you have the access to some of these, I can recommend some as well. And then we'll be looking at some of the other extensions, such as the Translate one and text-to-speech and stuff like that. Does anyone need more time with this URL? Yes. 5 seconds. Okay. Okay, cool. So I'm going to spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes showing off each one of these things. I'm going to recommend to the type of person that looks at the screen if it's in front of them, just give it a shot. I'll go through some of these projects here, and you'll thank me when you get to some of these stations and get to try it yourself. So some of these ones that we're looking at right now, if you're not familiar, these little things, these little devices, I'm going to show them off in particular when we get to them. First one, this Scratch Makey. I got one right here. I'll show you it off. No worries. So the first one I want to show off is the Translate block. I think I've showed it a little bit, but I just want to show you this particular project, and you can see how you can use Scratch in a variety of different subjects. So let's see inside. I'm going to hit this button to make it a big screen. This project, if I click the green flag, is a Spanish intended to learn Spanish for a student. So before moving any items, you must first provide the name of each item in English. So click on an article. So I'm going to click on this here. And I'll click on this because I know it. In English, I'm called pants. What's the name of this item in Spanish? Anybody? Pantalones. Did I spell it right? Oh, it's very small. Let's see. Wrong. I think I just spelled it wrong. Oh, English. Okay, wait. Pantololes. Okay. Yeah.
No. Oh.
Pantalones. L-E-S. One second. I'm gonna do shirt. In English, my name is Shirt. In Spanish, I am camisa. Right? Am I right? Yes. Correct. I created this program, and I'm not the best at Spanish. But you get the idea. You can see how this could be used in different subjects, and Scratch isn't just for the tech class.
I think that's the check questions and where you're putting it in.
Great question. So how do I add these little boxes to add different things in? Let's look at the pants part here. So let's look at these blocks I have. I'm going to make this small so you can see it a little bit better. I've got this block here, this blue sensing block called ask. The ask block, what it does is it puts this question up, the character will say it, and then that little speech bubble shows up on the stage. I want to show you what's happening. Whatever I type in for this ask block, which shows up on the stage, gets stored in this blue block here, answer. So I could, so whatever they type in gets stored in this block here. So whatever they type in is equal to the translation of Spanish. Say correct. What happens if it gets wrong? Comes down here. It skips over these two blocks. If I get it wrong, if what I type in is not equal to this, it does this code. Yes?
It's case sensitive, right? Have to be exactly.
I actually think Scratch has put some things in that it's not case sensitive. But teaching case sensitivity is nice. So just tell your kids it is. But yeah, it is very particular. You can see when I spelled it wrong. It didn't tell me, you're close. It just said, you're wrong. Maybe. Yeah, so. Yes. Okay, cool. So that's a great program to see. Is the a great extension, the Translate one. Next one, where are we? Text to speech. This one's really great. I'm not going to go into it, but you just click on the extensions and it'll just speak out different words. And one thing that Lori was pointing out before is that it will speak hello in English, or it will speak, if you said speak hello to Spanish, it still says hello, but it says it in a Spanish accent. Give it a try. I didn't create it. I didn't create it. Give it a go though. Next thing, Makey Makey. I want to show off this one because I've got a Makey Makey right here, and we've got some around the room that we're playing with a bit. Makey Makey is a really cool, easy to use device. These are $50, and my favorite part about it is you plug it into the USB port, and it works. There's no driver to download. There's no updates. It just works. And the reason it works is because it works just like an external keyboard. Same thing, if you plugged a keyboard into your USB port, you don't expect, sometimes there are drivers for that, but this one doesn't, I promise you. And I want to show you one program I created with Makey Makey. Makey Makey blocks. So I'm going to see inside here. And what Makey Makey does is it's creating a full circuit. I've got some ground ports down here, and I've got these different arrows, the 4 arrows of the keyboard, space bar, and a mouse click. And I've just got these connected to these alligator clips here. So if I connect my ground with one of my other ones, if I do the other one, kind of cool. I think it's the easiest way to take what's going on the screen out into the real world. So now that I have these things, if I put my right hand on this one, and my left hand on this one, electricity is going through the ground, through me, and back into the Makey Makey. I've done this with a group of 20 kids holding hands in a circle. And now you can take, if you get some aluminum foil, put some different things on here. One of the coolest projects I've ever seen were these kids, remember that, you know that dancing game with the arrows on the ground? Kids made a game where the things were falling from the top in Scratch. And they, with aluminum foil, made some arrows and held the ground switch in their hand, and they were barefoot. And they had to do this to get the arrows to work. So I'll explain that again. You hold the ground switch in your hand, and if you connected one of these things to each one of those things on the ground, electricity will go from here to your hand, through your body, and when you touch the arrow on the ground, connect back into here, and we'll create the switch. As far as the computer can tell, it's working. Any questions on that? It's really, yeah, I really love this thing. And just to explain a little bit more, like I said, the computer thinks you've just plugged in a keyboard. I'll just answer that in 1 second. If you think about how a keyboard works, underside of your keyboard, there's a little metal plate. Inside the laptop, there's a metal plate. When they connect, the circuit closes. This is the same thing. We're just pulling it apart. Does that make sense? You had a question?
The question is, the music.
Yeah, so I've just created this program. And if you look, it just says when left arrow is pressed, play whatever. Yeah. So that's Makey Makey, and you get a chance to play with that in a little bit. Another one, Microbit. Microbit is awesome. It is very cheap. It is this big. It is I think $20 for one of them. About 20 bucks. I love it. It's one of my favorite little chips out there. There is some softwares and some drivers to download, but once you get those set up, I can connect this Scratch script to it. Now I'll go to editor, and what I've done is I've created a Magic 8-Ball game. It says, when the microbit is shaken, this code here is picking a random fortune and then having the Scratch Cat say the fortune. So let's see what this looks like. So I'm going to make this full screen. So am I going to get an A this quarter? I just disconnected it. That was my bad. I shook it off the wire. There is. So here, let me just connect it again. What? Ah, it was just working. I'm gonna refresh my tab. I promise it was working before. Oh no! I hate when the demonstration doesn't work. My computer's yelling at me for disconnecting it. This is that driver I was talking about. So now that I've disconnected it, bear with me for 20 seconds. No, keep going, keep going. Now it's on there. Okay, so now am I connected? So I'm just going down to the blocks that I've added, the microbit blocks. You can see it's not connected. I get this orange exclamation point. If I click on it, it's connecting to this one over Bluetooth, actually. It's not going to find it, is it? This USB cable sucks. That's what's happening. There it is. Connect. Go to editor. I'm really not happy about this. I'm getting yelled at that it disconnected. Let's change this to an A button. No, I just had this one going now. There we go. Okay, I've changed this. Instead of shaking it, I'm clicking the little button on here. It works. It's awesome. I promise. I'm going to get set up back there later. I'll be at the microbit station. Okay, other ones. Sorry, I don't want to spend too much time on this. Lego EV3. Does anyone have Lego robots at their school? Yeah. They built a plug-in here where the Lego robot can be controlled by Scratch as well. Again, I'll have this one set up at this station, but I can just show you the script here. So you can see what it'll do. See inside. Same idea as the Makey Makey one. But in this one, I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard to turn on the motors and make them turn. So I use the up, down, left, right arrows.
Are these going to be on the slides that you sent?
Yeah, I'll send the slides out.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can make my EV3 robot be moved by my keyboard. Bluetooth. Yeah. Awesome. So that is the extensions in a nutshell. We'll have it set up at the station. And what I'll ask you to do is go around these stations. We got a half hour left, and spend a little bit of time at each station playing around with the blocks and experimenting and see what you can do with it. Does anyone have any questions? Where are the stations?
Even if Bluetooth, you have to use iPad or laptop.
It works. I want to say it works with both, but I've never tried it with the iPad, so I don't know for a fact. I don't want to speak too soon, but I know for a fact I've done it with the laptop.
So if I program, put it on Scratch, run the program,
And connect over Bluetooth.
you should be able to do it.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work on a tablet. I've just never, personally have not done it.
Okay.
Yeah. Rachel, where are you?
So this back here is the microbit. This one will be the Google Translate station. And this one will be Makey. And we'll put the Lego Mindstorm there.
Right there? Awesome. Cool.
And if anyone wants more, like, if it's your first time working with Scratch and you're like, all of these extensions are like beyond what I want to do, and you want to just work on more tutorials, or you want to work in the creative guide, or you have questions more basic, please let Tom Ryan know.
And what I'm going to say is I think we'll have a bit of a staggered exit today. We'll have some people who, if you want to stay for a little while, happy to do that. I know some people may have to run, but I do want to do, before you run, a few things. First of all, if you are planning, I know a lot of people were signing up for this PD and also signed up for the March 2nd one. I just want to make sure you did that intentionally. If you do plan to come, just let me know.
Is that the game one?
Game design. We'll be using a platform called CS First, but also using Scratch and some offline programming. Just let me know. Just shake my hand on the way out. And
March
2nd, it's a Saturday. And please fill out the survey. If you want to take a picture of it, do it later. It is. It's all day on Saturday. Let me know on your way out there if you're not able to maybe make the whole thing. We can talk. And but yeah, it's there. It's available. If you've done CS First with me before, it will be some of that content will be similar, but it will be using can be using CS First. If you're not familiar with CS First, you should definitely come. If you are familiar with CS First, we'll be focusing specifically on the game design. It is not per session. Okay, cool. So again, the stations are around the room. Please stand on up and find a station and interact with it. I just wanted to do this because I know you leave whenever you need to leave. And that's great. Awesome. So let's get some of these set up. Rachel,
Are you guys over the 028?
Yeah.
Does anyone want to check out the microbit line? Come on back.
I have my license. I have my 7-12.
We're going to be there in just a second.
So to get this talking to this.
You want to play with the microbit? I'm going to the back. Oh, is that not okay?
I don't know how to connect it. I've never done that before.
Scratch link is going.
Scratch link is here.
Yeah.
Bluetooth.
I should click
What was the link for the survey?
It's right up here.
Oh, post.
Yeah. That was the pre.
So it should be post.
Okay. Same thing but post.
Yeah.